Hi, I'm Helga from Helga's Pennsylvania Cooking, and today I'm not cooking. Today I'm actually seed starting, and this is actually about 3 weeks later than what I would normally do it. But since we are having the winter that never ever ends, I'm still going to be okay because the last chance of frost is normally mid-May. The way this year is going, I'm going to bet it's going to be the end of May. So before I put out, the stuff like tomatoes and peppers and stuff like that. So, in fact, this is the 20th of April, and there was snow on my deck this morning. Not happy. I love my seasons. I love my season changes. 6 months of winter? Yeah, we don't do that. So I'm all messed up. Not happy. No more snow. Had enough. Okay, so the reason I'm bringing you along with me today is everybody can start seeds. It's not a big deal. A lot of people will use the like a seed starting greenhouse kit. These are nice. They're reusable. They have the little peat pots in each of them, and then it has the tops which you put over, and in a sunny spot it acts as its own greenhouse, magnifying the warmth of the sun and also bring in the condensate moisture to keep it self-watered. So these are great. They are reusable. They're nice to have around. But there are some natural ways to do stuff too without using those or buying those. And those can be pretty expensive. Some of the kits are like really expensive. And I mean, I guess if you look at long term, if you're using them yearly over and over, they would probably pay for themselves. But it's a lot of fuss. And if you don't have a place to set up a big tray like that, with the way your windows are set up, with the proper sun exposure, it's kind of tough. So some natural ways that you can create seedlings and transplantable pots. And transplantable pots that are biodegradable, that you don't have to fuss with. Everything from eggshells. You can actually use cracked eggs. After you use your eggs, crack them in a pan, take half of the eggshell and use that actually with a little soil as a seed starter. Lemons. And I recommend the lemons with things like tomatoes that like acid, but you can actually take, after you squeeze your lemons, take a half, just snip a little bit off the bottom so it sits flat, scoop out what's left of the pulp and put in a little soil and start your transplant that way. They work great, and of course when you're ready to transplant them, you just dump the whole thing in a hole and it's done. Newspaper. Newspaper works really well, and actually I'm going to put a link down below to another channel that started their seeds using newspaper pots. There's a nice neat way to fold it all up into a nice neat little about 3x3 box, but I'm not that talented, and it takes about 50 folds and it makes a perfect box, but it's like practicing origami, and I'm not that good. So, but the one thing I have tons of, and these work really well, and I can just snip them and transplant them, are the fiber egg cartons. They're already compartmentalized, and so I can go through and just put a little soil in each one to get my seeds started. And then what I do is I actually have the natural fiber pots like this for when they get to be a little bigger and I want to get the plant ready for actual transplanting. And these are completely biodegradable, leave no residue. And these are nice too, especially like for when I do tomatoes and stuff, because I can put like fish bone meal and other beneficial nutrients down right below it, and then sink this into the hole, and it works out really well. So just some things I have here. All I do is I have some potting soil, and I'm just gonna put that into my carton like so. There's also some really good apps for gardening and seed starting. Mother Earth News has an app that I actually really like because they actually tailor it to your area of when to start different things. So it'll give you planning reminders and trigger you for when the proper time should be for your area and your zone. I'm in zone 5 here, but it will take your readings from wherever you are. So I like that one a lot. That's Mother Earth News does that. Farmer's Almanac does it as well. They have a good one. Burpee has a good one for your phone, a good phone app. And I want to thank Roadside Dan for that. He shared that with me the other day, and it's a nice app. Another thing I'm going to be better about this year, since I've got my game together a little bit better than I did before, is keeping a garden diary or log. All right, that's important, and I've really been neglectful with that because of all the other stuff going on the past couple of years. So you can see how nice the little tray comes out like that, and it really makes it nice. So, you know, when you're ready to transplant these, you just go and snip them with a scissors and you're done. But anyway, doing a journal is helpful. It really is, because when you keep a gardening diary, besides laying out your garden diagram, keeping a garden diary helps because you keep track of when you planted. With me working swing shift work, I don't remember what day of the week is ever. I always joke that if I am in an accident and I end up in the hospital and they do that, what day of the week is it when you wake up? I'm going to have no clue because I don't know normally, you know. My days all are mixed up. So, but this is helpful because it keeps you on track of when you planted, keep track of the conditions you have for the year. You know, last year I had such a wet year, it was terrible. Normally my garden is burning up in July and I had a river running through it. It was a complete mess. I still got some stuff off, which frankly was a miracle, but it was probably the worst garden I've ever had, which was really embarrassing. But it is what it is. So this year we get to try again. However, I'm concerned already for this year because this weather is so late. We really haven't had spring yet. Even my spring flowers, my bulbs, my tulips, my hyacinths, all that stuff, they're thinking about blooming, but they haven't yet. We had 2 days that were really nice and stuff started to pop like the forsythia and whatnot, but then it got cold again and snowed and rained, and you know, it was 30 degrees this morning and it hasn't been getting up above 40 really, and everything just went, I don't think so, we'll wait. So it's putting everything back. So, you know, I'm kind of worried, you know, I'm doing the transplants to get an edge on it, but I'm a little worried that we're going to have a shorter growing season, especially if we end up with a early frost. It's going to make it interesting for the hay season too. The grass hasn't even really started going yet, and normally we're taking hay off, you know, the end of May. I'm not sure that's going to happen this year. So some freaky stuff with the weather. So it's another reason to keep a journal. You can conditions, soil improvements that you've made, when you've done them, track your growth, and it really helps keep you on track. And if you really want to go after it, keep a video diary with it. Snap a few pictures at the times you do some entries so you can see that, because when you go back through looking at problems, like maybe you got an insect problem or pest problem or a blight or a wilt problem, whatever, you can kind of see when that stuff happened, at what stage, and you know, if you don't get on it this year and you miss it or have something happen, it might help you prepare better for next year to avoid those same pitfalls and problems. So that's part of why I do that. Oh, another thing, you know, if you have, I have a ton of berry boxes. I'm going to actually use these to start some lettuce and spinach. It's still too cold. The ground is so cold. Stuff's still freezing every night. I have those berry bushes and stuff I want to put out. I have asparagus and strawberry beds that I'm going to do. The strawberry ones, I'm actually going to use the tires and upcycle them into a tiered strawberry bed. I can't do it yet. It's going to have to warm up. Now, next week they're saying it's supposed to start warming up more to seasonal temps. But this whole month, except for 2 days, we have been 10 degrees colder than normal. So it's not happening. The ground is really cold. But anyway, these berry boxes, they're also fiber. They work great for putting together small beds. So I'm going to do like spinach and lettuces and herb mixtures in this. And then when it gets a little bit warmer, I can put them out here by the house where I normally put them anyway. I have a real variety this year. I have a couple things. I'm really excited about this. I have a couple organic places with heirlooms that I go to that are non-GMO seeds are SEEDSAVERS Exchange and Seeds of Change. They're two good ones. Burpee and Gurney both have some that are heirloom and non-GMO, but you have to shop and be careful. But these I love. This is a ground cherry, and they're called Aunt Molly's, and they are a little tiny. They are a little tiny tomato. Here you can see it. They're a little tiny tomato in a husk, and these things are really good. I had them at a friend's place. He grew them several years ago, and while I'm not big on eating raw tomatoes right out of the garden so much like Michael is, these were really good because they were they had a hint of tomato, but then they had a hint of citrus, and they were just really delicious. So I'm going to try growing these this year. I think they'll be awesome in salads and maybe even a nice little tomato jam. So I'm going to start them, and like I said, got my lettuce here to go with this. I'm going to start some of my squashes and tomatoes. I have a beef steak that I'm going to do, and then I also like one heirloom I have is from Virginia. I did a seed swap with someone. That's another thing. You know, look online. There are places, groups that do seed swaps of heirlooms, and like the one group online is Plant Swap, I think it is. And I've done that with those folks. But it's really helpful, and even have developed like seed pen pals. So it's a really nice way for people who are seed saving to do that. And that's another thing. You know, remember that your hybrids, yeah, sometimes they reseed, but they aren't true, pure genetics. So it's iffy on what you're going to get and how they go. With heirloom seeds, seed saving is important because you're keeping it true to the original gene. It's not being spliced, it's not being added to, it's not being hacked, and you're keeping the original bloodline, so to speak, true. As they do more with hybrids, that's great, but they don't always reseed well. They aren't consistent in reseeding, and the product that you get isn't consistent. So yes, they've made them tougher and more insect and chemical resistant, but there's a trade-off for that. So there are a lot of natural ways organically to control pests and improve your vegetables and fruits and stuff without doing that. I'm sick of the I mean, it's terrible, but truth of the matter is you know, we've really poisoned the ground a lot with all the insecticides, the really hot fertilizers and stuff, and you know, after a while that stuff doesn't leach all the way through. It's held in the soil, and you're planting your food in that and eating it, and it builds up over time and it causes issues. So I'm all for this. So this is just an idea. I'm going to go and start putting these in, and I'll show you what it looks like here when it's done. Planted, I put just a couple in each compartment. Now if they all take hold, then when they get to a certain size you have to separate them out, which is totally fine. I just dampen these down, did my little spinach bed and my little lettuce bed here, and I'm going to put these on a, I have more old cookie trays, believe it or not, and those are great because I put these on, water these down, and they can pull up moisture then from the bottom, and it keeps it from being messy anyplace else. I put down in my little diary here today's date, the temperatures and conditions, and what I've planted and of what variety and how much. This is helpful too, because you know, if your markers go south and you're like, oh, I can't remember what kind of, what variety I planted of this, but it's doing so well, I'd like to repeat it, but you don't remember what it is. This is another good way to help you with that. So this is just some seed starting stuff, nothing fancy. Like I said, I'm going to include down below in my links some of those apps I told you about, a link to the how-to of how to fold the paper starting pots if you want, and that's about it, I guess. Just nice to actually work in the dirt. Dirt's good for you, it's healthy for you, and it improves your mood, and I'm really sick of winter. Did I mention I'm really sick of winter? So anyway, it gives me something to look forward to. So if you like this vid and got anything out of it, like, subscribe, and join me next time in Helga's Pennsylvania cooking.